arbor for the barrel. We're gonna have to make some adjustments to fit it exactly to the barrel and the bearings we got. But we'll make this out of mild steel, and we'll start cutting it. It's mostly all lathe work, but we'll have to do a couple operations on the mill to get that square at the end. Okay, so the first thing we want to do in the lathe is we want to cut this end down to this 0.281, and that's a total length of 1.39063. We'll cut the squares off later in the mill, but you can see I put a little bit of die-chem in here. I'll find the zero, and then we'll start cutting. Okay, the next dimension is important because this next is going to be the shoulder that goes into the bearing. So, the trick I like to do here is I've got a gauge pin that is exact fit I want with the bearing. So we'll put that in the mics, set that to 0, and now we've got a good reference that we can keep checking as we go along. So we'll get started with the shoulder. The next thing we need to do is we need to move it a little bit out of the collet. So we're going to mark the collet and the part so that we can keep everything lined up. This collet's pretty concentric, but there's no reason to have this thing move any more than it needs to. Alright, next we'll do is we'll bring this OD down to 0.625 from the 0.75. So we'll get at it. So I'm trying to get this slot in place. It's not really a slot, but it's the other bearing side. So what we're doing here is we've got a blade caliper, so I can get in there. I'm using a cutoff tool, and we'll see what we got. We're about 1.5 thou big on the OD, so I need to come in basically like 1/2 thou. So it's pretty much there. We'll leave it at that. We'll start cleaning up the rest of the piece. But you see what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to work from one end to the other so that we keep this thing concentric and we're not having to flip the part around. We'll see how it goes. If I can do it, we'll know that we got a true part, and this thing is concentric all the way. Okay, so we should have all the shoulders put in place. They look about right. We're going to go cut this part off and hope we got these dimensions working for us. We'll see how it goes. All right, we'll clean it up a bit and we'll see how she fits. Okay, so things look pretty good. We've got this in. It's just got just enough play. It's very nice on that bearing housing. Now is we'll drill a hole through the center of this arbor. The spring goes in here. We need a screw to hold that spring. We're going to use a number 8 screw, so that's a number 29 drill. And we'll come in at 3,000 RPM on the drill press, and let's see how she goes. Come in first with spot drill. Okay, so we're getting ready to put the keyway on, and I've got it in a Spindex. We've got it indexed. We're going to do this basically manual. I'm going to try to come in a little bit at a time so that we don't get too much deflection on this part. Okay, so I've got the arbor basically finished. We've got it tapped for a number 8 and the flats put in. I didn't show, but I put a slight taper. They call for a 1 degree taper on the flat. Just did that by offsetting the vise. But it looks like everything fits well. So you can see it go in the barrel. Put that barrel cap on. We've got the right amount of play with the bearings, very little friction. So it looks good. I'll mount this into clock frames. We'll see how the train looks and if we've got everything depth correctly. So we'll take a look. Okay, so we've got the barrel mounted in the clock. You see the arbor coming out here with this is where the key will go. Now this mainspring will go inside that barrel, but I don't want to put that in until we make the escapement. So we've got everything on the train, of course, missing the escapement still. And you can see it looks like it runs very freely. And this is a fairly complicated wheel train, as you can see. We've got some stuff we'll show later on exactly how that's going to work. We've got a little concentricity issue on the arbor, but we'll get that fixed. No need to do it now. But so far, so good. We're getting there. Complicated clocks is going to take a while.